to do. I sometimes miss the ease of my past experience, sitting in church, getting inspired through worship and a good sermon, and going home. Yet something was deeply missing when life was like that. On the outside, I looked like a good Christian wife and mother, faithfully attending church and following the unwritten rules of what I thought was a faithful life. Inside, I felt lonely, disconnected from my heart, afraid to show up more honestly out of fear. I didn't have any safe spaces to speak more honestly about some of my true struggles in my relationship with God and my own soul. I wasn't sure who I could trust and who I couldn't. Thankfully, I ended up in a renegade women's small group in a conservative Baptist church that opened up my heart and head in a way that changed things forever. The group was incredibly unique, tucked out of sight from regular ministry programming in a system built on certainty. It was a brave space to be more honest, to share our real struggles, raw questions, and scary doubts, and to not be met with judgment, advice, or fixing. Instead, I was met with honesty and hope. The women shared some of the same crazy thoughts that were running through my head, and I felt much less alone. We were honest about our fear that maybe our efforts in faith were channeled in the wrong direction, that many of the unsaid Christian rules we were following weren't going to serve us well in our marriages, parenting, or communities. I spent 3 years in that group, and it changed my life forever. I knew I could never go back to a Bible study that wasn't also talking about real life and honest struggles. I knew I couldn't spend any more time on conversations that remained stuck on picking apart particular Bible verses or who was right and who was wrong. I knew I needed to keep pushing out of my comfort zone and into the mess and muck of my own pain, the pain of others, and the pain of our unjust world. I knew I wanted to live out the ways of Jesus in a tangible way that transformed not only my soul, but also my relationships and the wider world around me. In a nutshell, I discovered the beauty of the word practice. Real change in ourselves doesn't come through a few minor tweaks in our behavior or from breezing through a book on practice. Practice is centered on deep inner work in our souls that propels us to habitually, intentionally, and repeatedly live out new, healthier ways over the long haul. In God's economy, improvement isn't measured with words like more, bigger, or better, but rather by what's deeper, stronger, and more integrated. Deeper, stronger, more integrated people help create deeper, stronger, more integrated systems. This only comes through practice and learning to live out something different over and over again. Practice is also about engaging even when we are scared, playing instead of sitting on the sidelines, showing up in relationship instead of hiding, sitting in hard places with people instead of avoiding pain, listening to others who look, think, and believe differently than us instead of always talking, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable as people of faith instead of protecting our hearts, money, and time. Practice is about making mistakes, getting our hands dirty, and giving ourselves and others heaps of grace. It's about getting out of our heads and into our hearts, guts, and souls. It's about putting feet to our faith. It's about loving God, our neighbors, and ourselves through actions, not just words. Practice remains one of my favorite words because the world needs more of it right now. In times of deep division, great change, and never-ending brokenness, we need brave people of practice to help us keep moving forward. For far too long, our neighborhoods, our cities, our world has been crying out for hope, while we Christians have been sitting around in our comfortably protected bubbles talking about theology. Theology won't heal the world. Sure, theology informs us and is a powerful catalyst and reason why we do what we do. However, let's be honest. For the most part, the world has had enough of our theology. Many are sick and tired of watching Christians circle